Through the Line. Advertising underlined.
We keep walking through all the noise and the negativity. When the doubters make us doubt ourselves.
Man, you should hate yourself. Look into a mirror, hit or rate yourself.
We keep walking. When it feels like the world is standing in our way, we keep walking. Even when they say we're too loud, too different, too young, we keep unmuting ourselves, breaking patterns, and turning doubters into believers. We keep walking. Because when we take bold steps together, we're unstoppable.
Welcome to another installment of Through the Line, our online content channel that speaks everything advertising. Today we're going to speak influencer marketing, particularly looking at the Johnnie Walker influencer campaign that has everybody's eyebrows raised. Today in studio, I'm joined by Jay Badza, the creative director and the founder of Awkward 25, the person behind the campaign. Jay Badza, welcome to Through the Line.
Thank you so much for having me, Sabelo. I am so excited to unpack a little bit about our very exciting campaign.
We are very happy to have you. We are really, really happy to have you. So, Jay Badza, I mean, we've done our research. We looked at Awkward 25, but we still want the viewers out there to understand exactly who is Awkward 25, and can you tell us a little bit about Awkward 25?
Okay. We're a boutique marketing and branding consultancy, and we were founded about 5 years ago with the objective of solving problems for brands. What we realized was happening within the marketing space was, a lot of brands were looking for solutions, and we wanted to then create an environment where we could be able to respond to some of those challenges that they were going through by giving them marketing solutions to be able to answer to those needs of the brands, yeah.
All right, cool. I mean, we've looked at the Johnnie Walker influencer campaign, and we understand that it's a very, very big campaign. You guys were obviously behind it. Can you tell us a little bit about the creative process behind the campaign?
It definitely is one of our most proudest products. I mean, coming out of the pandemic, one of the things that we realized our consumers are really focusing on is how progressive, they've been. We've come out of 2 very tough years, but there's just really been a sense of progress and pride that was coming from consumers. And when we received the brief, it really was around mirroring the reality of where the consumer is currently, and using Johnnie Walker as a platform or a brand to be able to communicate about progress, be it individual progress or collective progress, because as we are saying, we are coming out of the pandemic all together. So we also needed to be able to mirror what was happening within society, and most importantly, having a very inclusive story around collective progress as well.
I like that. So in terms of the collaboration, how far did this collaboration allow you to actually stretch your creativity? Were there any boundaries that you could not obviously go over?
No, not really. I mean, it was a campaign that was just really born, of a great insight. And when there's an incredible insight that just helps to find the right solutions in order to be able to connect with our consumer. So we knew very well that our consumers, having come out of a very tough environment, especially driven by the pandemic, we had not seen each other for a very long time. We're not partying together, but we were so innovative as individuals in order to be able to keep ourselves entertained, in order to keep ourselves sane. I mean, we started going to virtual parties and doing all of these exciting things, and in order to be able to celebrate or bring our consumers out there again, spirit of progress and progressiveness, and just celebrating people who had taken bold steps every single day in order to be able to make it to the next day, was something that we hung our hearts and our heads on, and we were able to deliver quite an exciting TVC.
Very exciting indeed, but has a lot of questions that obviously need to be answered,
Absolutely.
So tell me, what was the most challenging part of putting this piece together?
I think obviously whiskey as a category has always been one that is often seen to be not as playful. It is always seen to cater to a little bit more mature demographic, and I think one of the challenges was ensuring that as we are rolling out this campaign, we are carrying on the journey with us the new consumer that we are going to be engaging with or taking with us into the future, while also at the same time not alienating the normal whiskey drinker who has enjoyed and loved the brand over the last few years.
Yes, of course. And can you take us through how you actually got to choose your influencers? I mean, we see Nasty C as part of the campaign, we see Karabo Poppy as well as Rich Mnisi. How did you get to those individuals?
That was actually very, very easy. That was the easiest part because when you do, think about people who are pushing boundaries or doing things that are really extraordinary, those are the three key names that, anybody in any boardroom or in any room can be able to think of. I mean, prior to the pandemic, Karabo Poppy had just blown up globally with all the work that she was doing, incredible collaborations with brands, LeBron James, being one of her biggest fans and rocking one of her sneakers. Rich Mnisi had also been, partnering with brands like Adidas, and also really putting out some really great work, as well as some amazing designs that kept us quite nice and warm and snuggly during the pandemic. And then obviously Nasty C on the entertainment part. Those are the guys who carried us, who made sure that our mental health and everything else was just really sane, during such a tough period. So it was a no-brainer to be able to pick those three geniuses and use their stories to be able to connect with everyday consumers and celebrate their journeys, while also at the same time mirroring what we are seeing from ordinary South Africans who are getting up every single day, taking those bold steps and pushing that progressive boundaries that they're doing every single day.
Cool, man. So what I follow is the theme is obviously three themes here: fashion, music, and art.
Yeah.
All three of those individuals speak to both, all those three
Absolutely.
facets.
Yeah.
Was that the concept? Was that the core of it?
I think obviously we were very lucky that we've got these talented individuals who play within those spaces. But the idea really was about finding these unique individuals whose stories can be able to inspire South Africans as we are now going into the next phase. And they'd done that, prior to the pandemic and, during the pandemic. With entertainment, being one of the vehicles that was used by a lot of people to just really bring in that sanity. It's also made our jobs a whole lot easier,
yeah.
because every time you start thinking about where we were, prior to the campaign, you could then reflect on how either art, fashion, or music was very central to just really bringing us a whole lot of sanity, and excitement, and just really helping to motivate us, to know that it's going to be okay, and life is going to get back to normal, like it has currently.
Yes, and we thank God for that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, for the viewers at home, for those who don't understand what influencer marketing really is, do you think you can define what influencer marketing is for the layman?
Okay. I think, I always like to start at the beginning of my journey. When I started my career, one of the major challenges across quite a lot of brands was that, brands were working with brand ambassadors. And brand ambassadors were expected to be these squeaky clean individuals who kind of sit in certain boxes, who do no wrong, who actually don't bring any personality. They've got to be given a template, and be told to behave in a certain way. And that started presenting challenges, because as individuals, we are all multi-layered, right? Sure. We need to be able to connect with different types of people, especially within our country. We are such a diverse and rich country, and we want to be able to see within advertising people who also mirror the everyday consumer who's sitting at home. So influencer marketing is that vehicle that then helps the brand to use these individuals to tell authentic brand stories, but also they've got a certain level of relatability, and there's a certain level of comfortability. They're not too squeaky clean, they're not too programmed, they're normal people, so we can all identify with them. So that's how, in my experience, influencer marketing was introduced to my world. And at Orchard on 25, what we specialize on doing is connecting brands with those types of individuals, because each and every brand has got a story and has got a consumer that it is trying to target. And therefore, we've then come in to say, okay, in order for you to be able to extend your communication to millions of consumers, these are the types of people who embody the same values that you embody, or who actually also connect with the same community that you're trying to communicate with. And hence, influencer marketing is such a powerful tool that we cannot underestimate today.
Very powerful, I must say. We've seen it, people are doing it, brands are doing it. Tell me, it brings me back to my question. Do you think influencer marketing is just merely piggybacking on celebrities with most followers?
Absolutely not. It's piggybacking on authentic stories, people who've got real stories to tell, and I think that for me is really, really exciting. When I started in the industry, I always used to, be on lots of big sets, and our sets never reflected the demographics of our country, and other parts of advertising or boardrooms never reflected the demographics of the country. And then when influencer marketing came in, it was the one space within advertising and marketing where you could be able to really see our demographics well represented, because brands do spend quite a lot of effort to be able to shop around and find these incredible and unique human beings who connect with their brand story, who they can then be able to use to be able to then reach out to a certain target audience that they're trying to spin a message towards.
So, looking at this campaign, it obviously challenges the category of whiskey.
Yeah.
From a communications point of view.
Absolutely.
Was that the intention? And if so, why?
Well, why not? Right? The question is always,
I guess, why not?
Why not?
Yeah, for sure.
The world is changing, and we've got to be able to also reflect, some of the changes that are happening within that space. Like I said right at the beginning, you always expect your typical whiskey drinker to be suave, very smooth, whiskey advertising to be on a private jet, a five-star, hotel. But as things have started to change and evolve, consumers are showing us that, anybody can be a whiskey drinker. And this campaign really was about embracing each and every one of the people who have been supporters of the brand, bringing them into our family and ensuring that they feel represented, within the TVC. But most importantly, I think it was also about, shutting those stereotypes, right? We've got a rich Munisi who's very out there, who's very loud, who's very colorful, and we've got a Karabo Poppy and we've got a Nasty C. Those are not your typical or conventional whiskey drinkers. According to industry standards, right? We worked with them in order to be able to showcase the changes that are happening within the industry and the category, and showcase that our consumers come from different backgrounds, they don't have to subscribe to a certain niche magazine or fly private or be found in slow lounges at airports. It's every single person that you're finding in Braamfontein and Melville and all of these colorful places. And the TVC was a true reflection of where our consumers currently are.
Okay, no, nice. And how has the campaign been really received by your long-standing loyal Johnnie Walker customers and obviously your new potential ones?
I think it's been quite an exciting journey, just watching people receive the communication and reach out to us and tell us about how progressive they think the brand is. So kudos to Johnnie Walker for taking such a bold move and doing something that was so different, especially for the category. So the reception has been really incredible. We've also received quite a couple of accolades from different publications, also just reaching out to us and paying kudos to the brand for being bold in terms of the direction, as well as telling a story that is uniquely and authentically South African, because it is a global brand after all. And to be able to be such an important and an iconic global brand and give such a South African perspective on our experiences as human beings was absolutely phenomenal, and our consumers, whether new or old, have absolutely loved how we've told that story.
Oh, nice, I like that. So tell me, would you say that this campaign has impacted the business positively from the approach that you guys have taken?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, everywhere we go, we get lots of invitations to either partner with events and festivals or to list the product in different spaces. The demand for the product since the launch of the campaign has really been incredible. I think, we've also introduced, new consumers into certain spaces, and we're seeing, our customers who are the retailers, just also really being grateful for having such an exciting piece of communication. But most importantly, I think it felt authentically South African and African, and as a result, we've also been receiving quite a lot of feedback from consumers, just really feeling represented, and also feeling like their stories were being told or anchored by the three protagonists that we used in the TVC.
For sure. Love your protagonists. Very inclusive, I must say.
Thank you so much.
Tell us your approach. Why that approach? For whiskey.
Why not again?
Yes, for sure.
Right? I think, when we do talk about progress, we've got to be able to talk about inclusivity. And therefore, it was absolutely important for us to be able to make sure that in the stories that we tell as marketing professionals, we've got a huge responsibility, not only, to sell burgers and pies, but to also create thought-provoking conversations. Yes. And therefore, it was very important important for us to be able to put out a piece of communication that was going to provoke the consumer and make them look at whiskey a little bit differently. And I think, they had lots of fun on set. The consumers had lots of fun, receiving the communication. So it was a win-win for everyone.
Jay, I mean, from the influences that you guys have really been a part of with this Johnnie Walker campaign, I mean, we consumers are asking themselves, which of those three actually consume the product?
That's a very important question, and I think before we even went on the exercise, we would be in the right types of environments. So whether it's the Sunday Roast or the Great Danes or the likes of Taboo, and we started seeing the types of people who actually really love and support the Johnnie Walker brand. So before we made those choices, we were very clear that they are true champions of the brand. I mean, every time I bump into the guys or party with them, the one thing that you can be assured of is the fact that there is a Johnnie Walker Gold bottle right next to them. So it's very, very important to be able to select influencers who really believe in the brand, who are consuming the product. But most importantly, it was also about delivering a very strong brand message as well, and finding the right level of influencers who can be able to tell us and convey that message through the things that they have done and the milestones that they've reached. But also, we all know them. I mean, we grew up around them, and we've known their story from beginning to where they are, and we've watched those progressive steps come to life, and it was a nice marriage of loving of the product itself, as well as just really having an amazing story that could be able to connect with millions of South Africans out there.
Cool. And speaking of that, you have Karabo Poppy, who actually influences a lot of brands.
Yes.
How does that impact your influencing of the Johnnie Walker brand?
Oh, we love that. I think we exist in an ecosystem with hundreds of thousands of other brands. So when one of our own is being recognized by others, it really shows that we've got the best people in town, and we absolutely have been huge supporters of everything else that she's been doing. All three of them absolutely, whether they are doing something with another brand or releasing an album, or whether it's a clothing collection, we've been firmly behind each and every one of their initiatives, because that's what Johnnie Walker stands for. It really is about celebrating those bold steps that they're taking every single day. And fortunately for us, we are not jealous. We don't mind sharing them with some of our colleagues in the industry, and so far so good.
I mean, influencer marketing has been there for not a lot of years, but quite a number of years. And, a lot of people are asking it, are brands really getting it right with influencer marketing? Are they choosing the right ambassadors to obviously influence their brand? I don't know. Tell us a little bit about that story.
Yeah, so it's like you said, it's an industry that is probably about 8 or 10 years in South Africa, I agree with you. Not everybody is getting it right. The ones who really are, it really is ingrained within their strategy. So it's not just about finding somebody with a huge following and giving them a product so that they can be able to pant and shout about. It is about using them as a channel and a vehicle to be able to connect with your consumer. Different brands use influencers for different things as well. So sometimes I often, even see, criticism of influencer marketing from consumers themselves. And we often try to educate them that, it is one of the, of the marketing, the tools in the marketing mix. And therefore, other brands do it for reach. So they would go for, you know, those big name influencers in order to be able to reach a huge audience. Others are going, you know, for that authentic storytelling. So they're finding those niche, you know, influencers within community to be able to do that. However, there is definitely quite a lot of controversy and the conversation around influencer marketing, you know, based on how it is received both from a consumer as well as a brand perspective. But the ones who are doing it right are the ones who are just making sure that their influencer campaign is well ingrained within their brand strategy.
Cool. I can only imagine it to be quite an expensive exercise. Getting all the celebrities obviously in one room and, you know, tell me the impact of choosing the wrong influencer.
Oh, that's, you know, you can never recover from you choosing the wrong influencer on the brand because, like you are saying, you know, you're using these individuals to be able to almost become the face of your brand. And there's a lot of content that you are going to be creating behind the scenes. Therefore, you've got to make sure that you've made the right choices. But most importantly, you've got to work with people who are totally in love with the brand. Once your influencers are obsessed with your brand, it doesn't feel like work. It feels like fun. And the brands that are doing it right are the ones that are able to make those choices and bet on the people who are adding quite a lot of value to their campaigns.
Thank you very much to Jay Baza, the creative director and founder of Okodon24, for sharing such valuable insight on influencer marketing and obviously the campaign that he's been behind. Keep your eyes locked on the screens and make sure that you go buy that Johnnie Walker bottle.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
Cool. Thank you.
Through the line. Advertising underlined.
Turning doubters into believers.
I didn't get my jewels back.
We keep walking.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We're still speaking influencer marketing. We're still on the topic of Johnnie Walker influencer marketing campaign. And who do we have in studio? We've got Sandiselwe Kamete, the one and only Johnnie Walker brand manager, who's going to take us through exactly what this campaign was about.
Hi.
Sandiselwe Kamete, my brother.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming through. It's a
And
pleasure having you.
Just before we start, I need to clarify.
Yeah.
It's not an influencer marketing campaign.
Okay.
It is our brand campaign.
Okay.
The TVC is called Bold Steps.
Okay.
And the reason I say that is that, especially in SA, you know, this distinctions are still above the line, digital. We take an omni-channel approach. It's our lead TVC.
Okay.
It will continue to be our lead TVC, and you know, it happens to feature, and in terms of it features, and it's been shot, and it's voiced over, and it stars, you know, the plethora of our walkers.
Yes.
But it's more than just an influencer campaign.
I like that, man. I like that. You've got a plethora of influences that, you know, people have been talking about. People obviously have been raising their eyebrows, my man. Can you just unpack for us who exactly is the target audience for this campaign and Johnnie Walker as a whole?
Cool. So at Johnnie Walker, our goal is to be the most desired, talked about, and enjoyed whiskey. And in order to do that, you really have to win amongst the drinking core, and the drinking core and the economic core are quite aligned. So you really have to win between 18 and 35. But the sweet spot in terms of true financial mobility, when you must a soft life, you know what I mean? That is really that 25 to 35 sweet spot for us. And when you look at the people it features, it rings true to even the cost you see in the ad, and of course the broader state of walkers we have on brand.
Cool, man. So tell me a little bit about how this influencer campaign has impacted the business from a sales point of view, or from the business end point of view, rather.
Cool. So the Bold Steps campaign, as I said, it's more than just, you know, we didn't go, hey guys, here's people you know, and they endorse this product. It speaks to the ethos of the brand, and I think it speaks to the ethos of the people that are involved. So the campaign is doing quite well for us. Speaking to our own history of TVCs, this is the best performing TVC we've shot in the country. It's even surpassed the 20 Years of Democracy, Keep Walking South Africa TVC. And that's huge, right?
Yeah.
And I think the reason why it's doing so well is the overall relevance and authenticity of the message. If you can see the subtle difference you hear in the TVC, Garabo Poppy says, we keep walking. It's not, you keep walking or
For
just
sure.
keep walking. It speaks to
Very
the
inclusive.
importance of, because when we speak about inclusivity, and then we'll go Ubuntu, right?
Yeah.
But it's been so overtraded that we don't get to the core of that. When
Sure.
we say we keep walking, it's the fact that the people who styled the TVC, one of the co-stylists is the lady who jumps on top of the cab in the middle of the road.
Yes.
One of the lead stars, Garabo Poppy, is the voiceover artist.
I noticed that,
And then of course Richie Misi needs no introduction.
Yeah, he's
The music,
saw the show,
it's Nasty C's music, it's
Standard.
Nasty C in the TVC.
For sure.
Mixology is an actual mixologist
Mixologist,
and
okay.
a walker. So we didn't put together a fairy tale or should I say a fantasy.
Yeah.
We tried to stylize how these people show up and where Johnnie Walker shows up.
Okay.
But because we're honoring the people, not just the creators you see in the ad, but the consumer as well, the ad is doing quite well, and it's doing, when you do testing, you speak about, SEM A and B.
Yep.
So high income earning
Sure.
versus working class and lower income
For sure.
earning. And the TVC is resonating across the spectrum
Okay, nice.
in the 90th percentile. So that tells you that what you're saying is true, and more importantly, the way you're saying it is interesting.
Yes.
Which is key for a brand like Johnnie Walker.
No, 100%. And tell me, Johnnie Walker is very much known to be, a brand for a very mature crowd, your 40-year-olds plus. You did mention your sweet spot of 25 to 35. Tell us, why this approach?
Look, Johnnie Walker is a 200-year-old whiskey, the number one whiskey in the world. And at the 200-year mark, Johnnie Walker, where I'd say, unlike other brands trying to hold on to what they've been, we as a brand look to say, how do we keep Johnnie Walker as the number one whiskey for the next 200 years? So in order to do that, it must be a drink that reflects and is relevant for today's consumer. And today's consumer, especially in South Africa, where our population average is under 30. So you can't be saying you're good enough when you turn 40.
For sure.
You're good enough when you're a family man. And because of all the sub-brands Johnnie Walker has, we believe that for anybody who chooses to drink, there's a Johnnie Walker that is there for you, that you can enjoy in the way that you like, with the people who you like.
Yeah, definitely. No, I get that. So, it's a campaign that obviously has a lot of people asking questions. It's a campaign that people are obviously very, very interested in. You have Nasty C in this commercial, or rather in this campaign. He happens to appeal to a very young crowd. What's the impact on that? If you look at Nasty C's music, appeals to 16-year-olds or even below. How do you manage that?
So, I see it slightly differently. I'd put it like this: Nasty C, global star, signed to an international label, has a very broad audience.
For sure.
And I believe his biggest audience, and if you even look at his stream breakdown and profiles, his biggest audience are actually from the age group of his peers.
Okay.
So those, you're talking about people who are 18 to 26. That's his biggest audience.
Yeah.
And as I told you, our sweet spot being 25 to 35, you have to start recruiting and introducing the brand to them, at the point where that they are. So you don't say, I'll only speak to you when you're 35 years old. You start recruiting. And Nancy C, for us, that's why a big part of us choosing him, to introduce, a whole new generation to the world of Walker.
Yeah. So, this campaign focuses on making whiskey cool again, I guess?
I would say the campaign focuses on showing how cool whiskey actually is.
Okay.
And the reason I say that is that if you think about your older brother or uncle or dad, they bought into Walker when they were at this point in their lives.
Okay.
So granted, you might see it now as just your older uncle, but he was once cool.
Yeah.
And in what we're doing is just introducing whiskey, and in particular the world's most enjoyed whiskey,
Yeah.
to them. And you see it in everything that we do, because we don't. TVC doesn't exist in isolation.
For sure.
If we look at the event properties we're partnered with, we're headline sponsor of Rocking the Daisies. Got a long-term partnership with Vogue Nights until homecoming events. It's really about making sure that we're meeting the consumer in the right spaces,
For sure.
and showing up in the right way for them.
All right, cool. I mean, what do your long-standing Johnnie Walker loyal customers have to say with this campaign? How do they really take this campaign?
Uptake has actually been great with what we call the core consumer.
Okay.
And I do think it's because when a brand evolves, it gives you permission to evolve as well.
Yeah.
Right? Something that, when you think back, 10, 15 years ago, cocktails were largely consumed by women, and whiskey was seldom consumed by women. And when you look at the growth of women coming into whiskey, and how whiskey cocktails has also enabled men to get into, the fine art of great cocktails.
Yeah.
It's been a liberating experience, and that's the inclusiveness, because
For sure.
we're not talking about a person, and I don't think anybody sees themselves as one type of person,
Yeah.
and a stagnant. Especially Mzansi, we are obsessed with progressing and seeing ourselves attain and be better.
For sure.
And I think that's why our core has bought into it the way that they have.
Okay. No, nice. That's actually very, very interesting. It also speaks to why you actually have Garabo Poppy within the campaign. Speaking on the woman with the whiskey, so it all makes sense now that you're mentioning that, Mnganam. And tell me something. So did the pandemic ever affect your business?
Of course, man. Look, at the heart of the pandemic, the entire industry really felt the impacts of not being able to sell. And I'm talking beyond, just simple job security. It really pushed us to find new ways to connect with consumers and remain top of mind. Because why are you showing me the one thing I really want but can't buy?
For sure.
So it was a fine art of ensuring that we still show consumers that we're there for them, we're there with them. But we have started bouncing back. But overall, for the alcohol industry, I think it's going to be about 2 to 3 years before we fully recover from all the impacts COVID has had on the
Sure.
total value chain.
Okay, cool. In terms of your brand presence, it doesn't seem to diminish much. What makes Johnnie Walker the brand that it is, resilient when most are folding, especially during those turbulent times of the pandemic?
Consistency. I think it's as simple as that. Whereas other brands scaled back, we're defiantly optimistic. We, stayed in the trenches because we knew that it will have to turn around and we would overcome the pandemic.
Yeah.
And as we speak today, the mask mandate has been dropped.
Okay.
So that's how you stick around for 200 years. You think beyond the current circumstances, and you really, tap into something more. And when I say more, that's the people's spirit. I think as humans, optimism comes naturally to us.
Yeah.
Even though people might seem cynical, it is a very contagious emotion.
It is. It really is. You're right. And Mnganam, what makes this campaign such a big success?
Timing. I really think for a brand like Johnnie Walker to be working with the people you see in the TVC and the people in the background, to foster such a spirit of collaboration across the board, because when you see the TVC, it's really a reflection of everything that the brand is doing on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah.
So I think that's why it's done so well. It's the right brand at the right time with the right people.
And I mean, you worked with, obviously, Okodon 25 on this one. Uche Ipadza, he was explaining to us earlier. So tell me, when Okodon 25 came to you with this wild idea that, guys, we're going to have these 3 individuals running this campaign and pushing the brand forward, what was your reaction?
It actually even didn't play out like that. So there's another agency I have to count, which is TBWA,
Okay.
which is the above the line agency.
All right.
From the genesis of the whole process, we were very clear that in everything that we do, our walkers need to be a part of that.
Yeah.
And that's why I said we have an omni-channel approach. So we don't look at O25 as our PR agency. They're one of our creative strategic partners. So when the TBWA team were carving out the TVC, they gave us the manifesto, so the strategy in the manifesto, and from that point, where O25 came in is in terms of bringing hyper relevance and so on, that we need to amplify our partnership with the said walkers, and it goes beyond the three. As I said, the three leads. We have Kevi Kusta, Siam Tand, and Ambassador is on there. We've got honestly a bevy of our influencers that are part of the TVC. So it and I think that's why it worked out so well. It wasn't a case of working independently and then going, we'll just throw these three people in. And it also wasn't a case of PR working in isolation. It was total collaboration between all agencies. Yeah. And because of the great relationship O25 keeps with our influencers, Rich came into the country, Nassisi was also out of the country at the time. So Jay and his team made it, quite easy to bring the idea to life. But even if you look at the out-of-home billboards, they have the quotes that come straight from our walkers. So those are the kind of nuances we made sure that we weave into the campaign, and that's why I say it's more than an influencer campaign, and even O25 exists as more than just our PR agency. Yeah,
I mean, what I see, Nganame, is all these influencers that you have in this campaign happen to be all very, very young, 30 years or below. Yes, I know you've mentioned the idea of 25 to 35, but the approach of having youngsters influence the campaign when you could have gone as far as, I don't know, Kuli China, someone who's slightly a bit older. What was the idea behind all of that?
As I said, we really wanted to reflect and work with our consumer. Yeah. And by taking, the people as we see as the movers of culture, the movers of style, the movers of music, we felt that would resonate as well as it has, because at the core of it, I do think South Africans, especially young South Africans, we're tired of looking up and looking ahead. We're at the mode which is system. Sure. And we know we've got the source. And any young person that I know, what they really cry out for is opportunity. Yeah. That's why Piano is so successful, 100%. Right? It's opened the doors to the industry. It's put down the gatekeeping. And we're hoping in us doing this, we'll have the same kind of effect.
I mean, you've just mentioned piano. I didn't want to speak on piano, but you just mentioned
Why not?
You just mentioned
what
piano.
A genre, man.
What a genre, man. And big numbers there as well. I mean, like you said, Nesty, very global, but hip hop. You having our vocalist Kabza De Small, also very global as well, but they're not within. We're not talking about them in Johnnie Walker. Why is that?
No, I don't think that's the right way to look at it. Okay. Right? Because guys are killing it in their own right, and we've worked with, some of the people you've mentioned in event spaces. One of our workers is Ufelo.
Okay. Yes.
Right.
Oh,
so
nice.
we're big backers and believers in Ufelo, and that's why even his Dipachi and 66 music video sponsored by us. Okay. So I would say to you, the TVC was us announcing a starting point. Nice. Everything that you're going to see going forward with Johnnie Walker, you will see the universe expand, and you will see a lot of the walkers we've not mentioned today come to the forefront, such as Ufelo himself. So it's not about hip hop or it's about.
It's not about a genre, really. It's just about the right individual.
As one of my favorite lines goes, we can all eat.
I guess, my brother, I guess. So tell me, influencer marketing happens to be quite an expensive exercise, especially if you have ambassadors like the ones that you guys have, What is your take on influencer marketing versus marketing spend, per se?
You see, if I was sitting here with the classical brand lens, there would be a distinction. Okay. But as I said, since we work with an omni-channel approach, we put the money where it makes the most sense.
Yeah, for sure.
So the TVC, the people you see in the use of the music, the voiceovers, it was all an intentional, focused exercise to say, we are going to put our best foot forward. Okay. the product that we see right in front of us, we don't do any half measures.
Yeah.
You don't stand the test of time. You don't become the benchmark of quality, the benchmark of excellence by doing half measures.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, Sandiselo, what can Johnnie Walker customers expect next?
Look, to be honest, what we have in store is going to really shake the streets. We're honestly looking to change the status quo and really champion creativity, champion boldness, as we're taking bold steps.
Bold steps.
And we want to do it in a way that's quite different because right now, culture is quite hedonistic.
Mm-hmm.
We think you can honestly take it to the top, but do it with people who actually matter to you.
Yeah.
Do it not for the state of flexing, but for reflecting how far you've come, and most importantly, enjoying it with the collective.
Cool.
But
Definitely.
honestly, from the month of September all the way through, it's Johnnie Walker's year.
You heard it, ladies and gentlemen. It's Johnnie Walker's year. From September 2022 to September 2025.
Yeah, they don't even put an end point. It's Johnnie
I'm not
Walker's
even
year.
going to put an end point. But, thank you once again, Sandisilo, for joining us. I mean, I think the insights that you've shared with this campaign have been really, really valuable. Also, to Jay Baza, thank you so much.
What up, Jay?
I think your insights have been really, really valuable. The people at home are really going to enjoy this one. And, you spoke about this being your flagship brand, where are the whiskey glasses? Let's try a glass,
Yeah, let's enjoy 200 years of excellence.
200 years of excellence. There we go.
Yeah. And as we like to say, it's been aged for 12 years, so we can enjoy it right now.
Ah, there we go. Cheers, my brother.
Just a second. Cheers.
Ever wondered how it's done? Ever wondered the amount of work it takes when watching some of the most memorable ads? Through the Line is an insight-driven digital content channel that looks at all things in the world of advertising, media, branding, communication, design updates, and current affairs. On a monthly basis, Through the Line will host a collective of industry experts, such as brand CEOs, CMOs, creative directors, and partner agencies to tell us more about the world of advertising and media.